Cate is an unusual spelling for Kate.
It never made sense for people that their name is Catherine with a
Catherine, I
C,
know.
but they use Kate with a K. That never made sense to me, but oh well.
Mm.
My mother was named Catherine, in her she was called Kay.
Hmm.
Catherine with a C, and they called her Kay. So
I
With a K?
see. That's weird.
Yeah.
they always did. I
So
have no
you
idea.
said Stephen Scott is still here?
No, he's gone.
Oh, okay. I see his name. I'm like, why is he still here?
No,
Yeah, I'll remove him.
he's gone.
Okay, I was just gonna say hi if he was still here. That's
No, I
all.
don't think he is. I think he might have left his mic on or something.
Yeah.
Okay, y'all ready to go?
Yeah, we're ready.
Yes,
All
sir.
right. Here are the tunes. Have a great show.
Thank you.
Come with us on a journey into the unknown, the unexplained, and the unbelievable. We will test your senses and challenge your beliefs. A world where science and religion clash. Or do they? You will meet real people and hear real stories, but you will not believe. You will witness strange sights and hear strange sounds, but you will not believe. This is the New England Ghost Project. Welcome to the nightmare.
Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to Ghost Chronicles Next Generation. Had to think which one it was. I am Ron Kolick, your host, the gatekeeper around the unknown, the unexplained, the unbelievable, the mystical, the magical, the macabre, New England's own Ben Helsink, and with me is the blonde bombshell herself, Ann Carrigan.
Well, good evening, everybody. Ron forgot what my voice sounded like because it's
Welcome
been
back.
so long.
Welcome back.
I know, yeah. Last time I was sick, but
Whatever.
here I am.
Yep. And we have a guest tonight, actually, and
Yay.
she is the owner. I believe she's the owner of it's a haunted church, I think. It's funny. I don't know a lot about it, which is going to be really interesting because when she tells our audience, she'll tell me as well.
There you
But
go.
it looked very intriguing. But I do know her name is Kate Davidson, and please tell me that's right.
That's correct.
All right.
Whew. So, Kate, you want to tell us first of all what is the name of the place that you? It is a church, right?
Yes, it is
Yeah.
a church.
Yeah. What's the name of it for us?
It's Spirits of Marco.
Okay. And it's located where?
It's in Marco, Indiana. It was the Marco United Methodist Church.
Oh,
They disbanded around 2020, and we purchased it in 2023 and realized that there's a lot of weird things that happen there.
so
Mhm.
can I ask you what possessed you to buy a church?
Yeah. So after COVID, we just kind of thought we're just going to do what we want to do. We were in a position to do it. And we sold our house, we sold our cars, we sold everything, and we traveled for a couple of years. Um, and then I started getting a little nervous, like, I don't have a house. We were just going to travel. We have a couple of condos with timeshares that we were kind of traveling around to.
Mhm.
And so we started looking for a house, and the housing market in 2022, 2023, I guess it still is kind of crazy. And I wanted something different. I was still on my little adventurous streak. So I came across a website they actually saw like old hospitals, old schools, old
Oh, cool.
churches. Yeah. So I saw the church on there, and I was like, wow, let's look into this. So I'd never been to the area, knew nothing about it. I didn't even see the church before we bought it.
Oh,
Yeah,
Holy cow.
I know. It was a big leap. My husband did fly up to look at it, and I just wanted him to check, structurally, is it good? It's 155 years old. It was built in 1869. So
Cool.
I said, is it structurally sound? Is it something we can do? And he came up and looked at it and said, yeah, it's, it's going to take some work, but yeah, we can do it. So we bought it and moved and found all these strange things that happened in this area. It's a pretty dark little place. It's but I mean, from the day we moved in, things started happening. And I caught it when I decided to go with
wait a minute, Kate. Let me
Yeah.
So you moved it. I mean, is the church like you living in the church? Otherwise, they have like a kitchen, bathroom, all that stuff.
Yeah, so we did live in the church for about a year and a half. I thought, oh, these renovations won't take that long. Well, that was yeah, I know, right? There was a kitchen in the basement part, and we lived in the basement area. It's kind of like a sub basement.
Mhm.
It's not original to the church. In the 1940s, they lifted the church and dug out a basement.
Oh,
But they had like fish fries and receptions and those kind of things in the basement. So there was a kitchen. There was a half bath. We had to install a shower, which ended up being in part of the kitchen. 'Cause that's just where the plumbing was, you guys.
Right. Yep.
Yeah.
Totally
And,
get it.
yeah. So I thought I can do this, and and it was fun. I don't regret living there. But it did get to be tiring. Living in a basement and not having, the kitchen was kind of spread out, like the stove was on one side and the refrigerator was on the corner and the sink was
right.
on the other side. And then, of course, showering in the kitchen was never a good idea. But that's just what happened. And
Well, you could peel the potatoes in the shower.
yeah, right. Like let's just do it all at once. But it worked out, and but we did. So then people started approaching me. I'd asked me knowing not a soul in this town.
Uh-huh.
We got to know some of the neighbors. It's there's like 4 streets. It's more of like a little village, or I don't even know if it could be called a village. But it's tiny. There's probably maybe 30 houses.
Oh,
Mhm.
wow.
Yeah, I lived on a street that had more houses than that at one point. But as I got to know people, some people would tell me some things about the area. And then, things, obviously, things started happening that we were noticing. And, I always tell everyone, you have to understand, like I grew up in Southeastern Kentucky, Appalachian. My grandma was Appalachian, Native American. So
Mhm.
I heard a lot of crazy stories from her. So I grew up in that kind of environment. And I've
Mhm.
always been, I don't know, spiritual, in tune with energy, whatever you want to call it. Um, but my husband, he was more like, he's a Marine. He's like, no, I need hardcore proof. I need something I need a ghost to like,
Hoorah.
he
Yeah.
needs to proof. And he believes now. I mean, if you ask him now, he's a believer. And
Mhm.
it took me, 9 years to make him believe, but he believes. So just things started happening. I started talking to some people in the neighborhood, and then actually a couple of paranormal teams approached me and said, we found this, we know this about this church, would you be interested in having us investigate it? And they kind of put me on the path to opening it up for investigation. So I had a few teams come in. I mean, I knew I had my personal experiences, and
Okay, so let's not jump too far ahead.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's go back to the beginning. You
okay.
bought this place, you started moving in. When did you first notice that something was awry?
Oh, within a couple of days.
Like
So
what happened so that
So we lived in the basement part, and I say a basement, it's like a sub basement. There were a lot of windows, so it wasn't like total dark, dingy, but it was concrete, or still
Mhm.
is concrete. But so, we would just be downstairs and we would literally hear walking overhead,
Oh my God. Mhm.
just like footsteps. And then, so one night I went up, I heard footsteps, and I went up. There was, we have the original piano from the late 1800s that's still at the church,
oh, cool.
but there was a newer piano from, I say newer, but it was from the 70s, that was there. And I heard walking, so I thought, I'm just going to go up and see what's going on. So I went up and I walked into the doorway. There's like, you go up the steps from the basement and enter like the bell tower area, and then there's doors that go into the sanctuary area. And so I stood at the doorway and I said, hello, is there someone here? And the piano, not the old piano, but the newer piano in the very back end of the church, just like those three, like real high pitch keys on the right. I don't know. I don't play. So just like the ting, 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 just like that, did that.
Oh,
And I
wow.
was like, I can hear you. And then it was dead silent for like 2 weeks. We didn't hear anything. So they were kind of, I think I scared them. Like I think they've been kind of doing their thing for a couple of years. And then someone's here talking to them and they didn't know what to do.
Right.
So that just kind of got to be like an everyday occurrence. We would hear shuffling sounds, whispers. We had in the back, like if you're facing the front of the church facing back, in the back right corner, both upstairs and downstairs, is where we hear a lot of shuffling and walking and whispering. And there we had a trash can in our kitchen, and it had like the motion activated lid, and it was
Oh, yeah.
like all the time we would hear boom, boom, like where something would motion activate
Oh,
it, and it would smack up and hit the top of the cabinet.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
So those kind of things would happen. So then in the shadows, we would see all these like shadows, and we never saw like figures or anything that prominent, but just you knew someone was there. And then before we would do any renovations, I would explain to them, here's what we're going to do. And I told them, you can stay as long as you want to stay. We're not going to make you leave, but we need to coexist. And it, that's kind of what happened.
Wow.
So when you make the renovations, was that downstairs or upstairs or the whole church in itself?
Upstairs. Well, I mean, we did some more repair type things downstairs. Sump pump, we swapped out the water heater, we built the shower,
Okay.
things like that. But upstairs, so there was no subfloor. The hardwood was sitting
wow.
directly on the joist.
Oh.
Yeah, there was a lot of termite damage. So we had to replace. Now this is, it was built back in the late, 1869 is when it was started.
Mhm.
And you can see on the joist and even on like around the perimeter of the church, like the axe marks on the joist, and some
Mhm.
parts of it still has bark on the wood.
Oh,
And
Wow.
it's like the big, like 12 by 12 post. It's not like your little 2x4s that you see today.
Right.
But the hardwood, it has the original hardwood in it, but we had to take all that up and put in a subfloor.
Mhm.
There was we still have the hardwood. Our goal is to put that back down to keep the original hardwood.
Oh, cool.
But then there was a drop ceiling, I guess sometime in the 60s, they installed a drop ceiling, I'm assuming for heating and cooling purposes.
Oh yeah.
So my husband was kind of poking around up one day in the ceiling, and he pushed up, the panels of the ceiling, and he was like, oh my gosh, there's this beautiful like molding,
I bet.
it's like 3 feet, different levels of molding around the perimeter of the church. So of course we took all that drop ceiling down.
Oh, good.
And then so that was probably about 12 feet. The ceiling was about 12 feet before we took the drop ceiling down. And then, so when we removed that gave us an extra, 8 feet.
Wow.
Roughly. So we were able to build a loft.
Oh, wow.
It's just me and my husband. So we only have, it's just the 1 bedroom, so it's wide open except for the wall for the bedroom. And then over the bedroom area will be the loft.
Mhm.
But and interesting about that, we did have someone come in and build that loft. So we did the hardwood, we did the subfloor. My husband's doing a lot of the electrical work. But we had a contractor come in and build the loft, like frame it all out. And they had a radio that they would listen to, and they turned it off. They were leaving for the day. And I'd kind of been telling them about, just make sure you explain to our guests, our residents, what you're
Residents. Yeah.
doing. And they kind of laughed it off. Well, they turned their radio off one day and they were getting ready to leave, and it turned back on. And they were like, is she messing with, I was downstairs and they're like, did you do something? And I was like, well, how would I have done that? So then
Right.
so they turned it off, they unplugged it, they called me upstairs, and they're like, what's going on? They turned it off, they unplugged it, and they were getting ready to leave, and it didn't come on, but there was like static coming from it.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so they were a little spooked, but they were great. They they weren't scared. They came back. So
Oh well.
yeah, and we've got they're coming back to do some more work, and when they get a little bit more free time. So
Wow.
so but yeah, that's my husband. We've heard a woman say, "Help me." 3 times we've caught that. And I've heard it a couple times, and then teams coming in that have investigated have heard it. And then my husband has heard a little girl say "mama," and he's heard that
Oh,
twice. And it's funny because when we were living there, I had a jewelry box, just like a dish that I would throw my rings in. And this ring that I always wear, it disappeared. I could not find it anywhere.
oh.
I mean, I had no idea where it was. And we have some of the church pews still, and a lot of them are in storage, and then some of them are downstairs that we were actually using around our table. And I was dusting those one day. This ring had been missing about 2 or 3 weeks. And I just thought, well, I've lost it. It came off my finger, something happened. And I was dusting those pews, and it was wedged in the corner of one of those pews. And that's where my husband had heard the little girl call for her mama.
Oh my
I
God.
always wonder if she took it to give it to her mom.
Oh.
Yeah. So I thought that was sweet. And I almost wanted to leave it for her, but then I thought, well, what if I just dropped it? And then
Yeah. Oh, that's crazy.
yeah,
That's amazing.
yeah,
I also like that you're using the pews as seating at your table.
yeah,
I love
yeah.
that.
Yeah, we're trying to use as much as we can. It has the original stained glass in it. We did take so they built at some point, I believe in the 60s, I think around the same time they did, or the 40s, when they did the basement, they built like a side um structure on the side of it that they made a bathroom and an office.
Mhm.
And when they did that, they covered up two of the windows. So we went ahead and took those out, and we'll just drywall there. And then we had to take 2 other panes out where the kitchen will go for the cabinets. And then when we built the loft, the loft hit. I mean, it's like two separate panes, top and bottom, and they're probably maybe 6 feet tall each.
Mhm.
So the top pane in the loft area, the loft hit at a weird kind of hit mid window.
Mhm.
So we had to take those out, but we're keeping them. I'd still like to do, I don't know if I'll maybe make doors out of them or
Mm.
something. I want to keep everything that I can. I don't want to, get rid of
Oh,
it.
excellent. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow, you are quite the adventurers. I mean, just I am not that daring, but I really admire you guys for just like, all right, we're gone. We're out of here. Let's go. Let's hit the road. And then now you're here. Did you come from, you said Kentucky?
Well, that's where I grew up. And then I was in northern Kentucky near Cincinnati
Mhm.
for most of my adult life. And then when we were traveling, we were in Mexico, Florida, South Carolina, mostly along the beach areas.
Wow, yeah.
So we had actually been in Florida for quite a while. Um, my daughter was down there going to school. So um, we were down there for a while, but that's where we were when we bought the church.
In Florida.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
So you left the warmth to go to the cold. Yeah.
I know, and I'm feeling
And
that right now.
no. And it looks like just looking at the pictures that you have on your Facebook page, like it looks like it's kind of a simple structure, almost like
Yeah, it's Methodist.
yeah, but I know, but even for a Methodist church, it's very simple, you know.
Yes, it is. It's a very small community. It's not a very wealthy community. When the church was built, so the town, when it had been settled, when they were all settling there in the mid 1800s, um, it was just a very small church. And so when we first, I spent months at the historical society and the libraries and
Mm,
talking to locals and things like that. And when the church was originally built, so it started out, it was the Methodist Episcopalian Church, Methodist Episcopal Church.
mhm.
And then it was built by the community. And there's documentation that within that community, there were Christians, pagans, and atheists, and they all used the church. They all went together and built it,
Ooh.
and they all used it. It was reserved for the Christian faith on Sunday, but it was used by the community. I mean, it was just a gathering place for the
Oh,
community.
yeah, like a meeting house.
That's
Yeah.
great. And it's like the word I was thinking, I couldn't place it. Like it's a mission style.
Yeah.
Looking at it, it's a mission
Mhm.
style. It's got that pillar, that square pillar in the front,
Mhm.
with the cross on the top, and it's like you can see where at one time there must have been a huge wooden door, like where right now it looks like a business, like a
Oh,
glass.
yeah, yeah.
They must have pulled an enormous wooden door out of there. I can't imagine what that originally looked like.
Yeah.
That
And
must have been beautiful.
yeah, I'm sure. I've been looking because I really want to put like a big, 10, 12-foot door back there, the double doors going
Mm.
into there.
Hmm.
I'm just kind of looking to see what I can find to put in there to replace that industrial looking door.
Yes, industrial,
Mhm.
industrial. I mean, I'm looking at like the sketches. There's sketches in your photos too, and it looks like, I don't know if that's like what it used to look like.
Yeah, there used to be a big steeple, and there was a storm that took the steeple off, and that's when they
Mhm.
just stuck that cross up on top.
Ah, okay. All
Mhm.
right. Because it
But
looks like, they had a wooden door with like a transom over it. That's beautiful.
yeah,
Beautiful.
it still has the bell. The bell still works. It's the
Oh, it
original
does.
bell. Yeah, there's the big rope there that you can pull, and the
Ah,
bell still works. Yeah,
that's awesome.
yeah,
Like the little kid hanging off it, going up and down.
yeah, yeah.
Like in The Sound of Music, they're ringing the bells. Oh, that's funny. That
Yeah.
looks really cool.
What's so funny, Kate, is that in my past life, I actually did a renovation of the church. Um, Beverly, well, it was a little fancier church than yours, but they were making it a private residence, and
Mhm.
they too had paranormal activity in there as well. So
I bet.
yeah.
Yeah.
What a cool place to live, though.
Yeah, I can't wait to get it finished. Like I said, we'd lived there for a while, and then we eventually bought another house about 30 minutes away,
Mhm.
while we're still working on it. But yeah, I can't wait to get it finished and move back to it.
That's cool.
So you are renting out the place for paranormal investigating, correct?
Yes.
So, I mean, eventually that's going to end if you go back living there, right?
We've talked about what we'll do. We're not sure if we'll sell this house or if we'll just hold on to it and then maybe just kind of hang out here while we do investigations. We're not really
Ah,
sure
okay.
yet. That'll come later. We'll figure that out when it happens.
Oh, that's cool. So you play it by ear then,
Yeah,
basically.
yeah.
So
That's
is
good.
your other house any activity in it?
Well, it's funny
As
because
a
so
matter of fact.
yeah, so the house we purchased, it's in the oldest city in Indiana. Um, there's a lot of, it's called, the name of it is Vincennes. It's a very French influence.
Mhm.
There's a lot of French names and things like that. But it's the oldest city in Indiana. It used to actually be the capital before they moved the capital to Indianapolis.
Oh, wow.
But the house that we purchased, it was built in 1910. It was in the same family for about 70 years.
Ah,
And the so the family had 7 kids. They raised 7 kids in this house.
wow.
And the one of the daughters never married. And when the dad passed away, I believe in 2012. And then the mother became ill, and one of the daughters that had never married moved back home to help take care of her. And the mother was in her I believe either her late 80s or 90s, I can't remember, but she just passed away in 2023. And then about 8 months later, the daughter passed away.
Oh,
Yeah. And then so the remaining siblings, they they hated, they didn't really want to sell it, but two of them still live here in town. The others are scattered throughout the United States, and they wanted to hold on to it for when the family would come back into town and things like that. But it just got, they're older, and it just got to be a lot of upkeep, and they just finally decided to sell it. So, so the mother's name was Charlotte, and the day we closed, it was bright, sunning, it was beautiful. And as soon as we signed the papers, thunder cracked, downpour. And I was like, are you kidding? And even the two brothers that were in town that were at the closing, they were like, sorry, Mom. And I said, does she do that a lot? Just kind of joking. And
we're on break.
I'm
sorry about that.
Sorry.
Oh, great. I'm sorry, but we have to take a break. Any chance you come back after the break and share some more of your story?
Sure.
All right. So you're listening to Ghost Chronicles. We'll be right back after the following messages. Thanks, Dan.
Well,
do you have a paranormal event, book, or something else you want people to know about? Then why not advertise it on Ghost Chronicles Radio? With over 150,000 downloads a month, get your message out to an audience that's interested in the subject. We have a plan at a cost that fits your needs. For more information, contact Ron Kolick at anyghostproject@comcast.net or call 978-455-6678.
Located in Illinois, there lies a sleepy little town where nothing is a common occurrence.
You going to that party in town tonight? Heck yeah! I only turned 18 once.
That is until the night of celebration.
Where the hell is she? Oh no. No, Jessica! What's happening?
From the creators of Shadowhunters, Bite Me, comes a tale of primal terror and grindcore mayhem. Shadowhunters, kill, Jessica, kill!
Are you reading me? Come in. Hello? Greetings from the Shadow, and welcome to Shadowzine. My name is Jeff Belanger. I'm an author, podcaster, and explorer of the unexplained. For 30 years, I've been investigating the paranormal, UFOs, monsters, and things that bump in the night. Lately, you may have noticed how major TV networks and even social media networks have been pushing our favorite subject back into the shadows. I say good. That's why I launched Shadowzine, a monthly underground publication that covers your favorite topics in depth by some of the leading writers and researchers out there. If you're looking for 30-second TikTok clips, go somewhere else. If you're ready for a deeper dive, put down your phone and pick up Shadowzine. You can't find it in stores. This is old school print. Head to shadowzine.com and be part of the underground revolution. That's shadowzine.com, and I'll see you in the shadow.
And welcome back to Ghost Chronicles Next Generation. And with Ron and Ann and our special guest, Kate from Spirits of Marco. We're back.
Kate, you still with us?
Hello.
Yes. Hey.
Is someone there?
Is someone there? Anyone. So just before you were talking about you had signed the deed on the new house and thunder and lightning.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and then so that happened, and I was, so we came into the house, and I said, Miss Charlotte, we will take very good care of your house. You don't have to worry. We'll love it as much as you did, and just like we did for the church. I do feel like you can feel her presence here. Um, we were talking one day. They had left some items. They'd left a lot of stuff up in the attic, actually, like personal
Oh.
things, which I thought was a little odd, but
Mm.
I don't know, like letters and things like that. And I haven't looked at any of them. They're still up there, but we were talking one day, they'd left a dining room set, and it's a decent dining room set, but I think I need to reupholster the chairs.
Mhm.
And I was talking about reupholstering the chairs, and we were talking about like what color should we do? And I said, I don't know, I think a sage green, because it's like a Victorian style house. And I said, I think a sage green would be nice. And about that time we heard thump thump on the wall.
Oh.
I was like, and it's funny because they had left like this, like an old fashioned, like maybe a late 1800s settee type, the little settee couch thing.
Mhm.
And it was in like a lighter sage green. So I think maybe that was her color. And she had reupholstered that, back many years ago, they had told us. And so maybe when I said the sage green, that's her color, and she approved. So that's what I'll do with
Aw.
these chairs. I'll make them sage green for her. And then a couple of times, like the cabinet doors will be open. Now it is an older home, and the countertops are newer, but the cabinets themselves are not. So that could just be a thing. The attic door has opened up on its own a couple of times, but again, it's like the original doorknobs from the 1910s. So some of them are loose and kind of wonky. So I'm not going to get too excited about maybe the house being haunted, but I do feel her presence here. I just think, she spent a lot of time here. She raised her kids here, and she was very attached to the house, and, just some energy is left over. I think that
Mhm.
happens.
Yeah, I think that happens in a lot of cases that we do have uh, energy into a building. Like we have the Boston Garden here, which was the home for the Boston Celtics for many, many years.
Mhm.
And when you walked into the place, you could almost feel energy that that was there. It's not like anything's happened. Go in and you just get that thing. And there
Yeah.
are other places like we have the Coconut Grove area in Boston where people know nothing about it, and they walk into this area. The clubhouses, I mean, the club is gone. It was over 100 people killed in that club, but they all have a bad feeling of something, not right down there. And
Mhm.
yeah, so I do believe that buildings can, retain some type of energy, especially if the same people are living in it for so long, or the same activities occur in that.
Mhm. Yeah, I
Right.
agree.
Yeah.
Right.
So back to your church now.
Mhm.
The so it became it was built by the town, and it was used for the Christians on Sunday, and like a meeting host the rest of the week.
Mhm.
And eventually, when did that change?
So, the back in the mid 1800s, there was the Methodist Episcopal faith. In the
Mhm.
mid 1800s, that church split into a north and a south because of differing views, mostly on slavery.
Mhm.
So our church, I'm assuming, was probably, well, I'm not going to assume, because when I get into the rest of this, you'll understand. Um, it was the Methodist Episcopal Church until the night around 1930s, 1935-ish time, when it became just the Marco United Methodist Church. When the church was built, initially the town had been settled like a half a mile away where the cemetery is, but then they built the railroad through like pretty close to the church. So they moved the town over to where the railroad was being built, and that's where
Oh, wow.
that's where the town was established.
Oh.
We know that there was one documented death at the church. There was a man from out of town. They believe he was from Virginia. He was working on the railroad. This was around 1871, and there was an accident at the church, or on the railroad,
Mhm.
and they had taken him to the doctor's office. So when the town was being established, there was a big train depot, a hotel, a bank, a general store, and then the doctor lived there and had his office there at the house. And so they took him to the doctor's office, and he knew he was going to die. He knew it was really bad, and he asked to be taken to the church. So they took him to the church, and that's where he died later that evening. And it's rumored that he's buried up in the cemetery. I haven't had a chance to look through everything. I don't have a last name. I know a George around 1871.
That's helpful.
But back then, they didn't have a way to preserve a body to take them, week-long trips to take him back home. So some people believe that he's not at rest because he was buried far away from his family and friends. Some people that have investigated the church, they said that, they have got the name George, that he's very friendly, but he's sad. So I don't know. I mean, I've heard the name George come up on the Ovilus and different equipment. I feel like there's a heavy female and child presence there at the church. But there is a male presence. There's, but I feel like it's more a feminine type energy there. We know that in the mid to late 1800s, there was a woman that her daughter disappeared. There's several stories about how her daughter disappeared. She was supposed to be married, and she was the most popular story is that she was supposed to be married and was having second thoughts, and she met her fiance along the banks of the White River that runs here through Greene County. And she broke off the engagement, and he became enraged and murdered her. But Polly spent the rest of her life, she actually drove herself insane. She and this is all documented. She just wandered the fields and the whole countryside, several neighboring counties, looking for her daughter. And she slept in fields, barns, churches, anywhere that she could find shelter. As people believe that she probably spent many nights at the church because the church was never locked. Several caretakers over the years have reported coming into the church, to start the fire for heat and stuff, and seeing people sleeping in there just to get out of the elements. She did pass away in the early 1900s. A farmer found her in his barn, and she was very sick, where she had been just wandering the countryside looking for her lost daughter.
That's so sad.
In the late 1880s to the early 1890s, there's a story of a man that became infatuated with one of the pagan women in the area, and she was not interested in him at all. So he, in his mind, thought if he was pagan, maybe she would be interested in him. And he didn't understand what paganism was. He just, so he turned to some dark type religion type things, and some negative energy took advantage of that. And while I don't think it was like a possession, there's rumors that maybe it was an oppression situation. He was awful to the town, to his family, to the woman that he had previously, swore his love for. So the family had come to the church and asked for help. And the church finally agreed to, they called them prayer sessions back then. And after several of these prayer sessions, this man, got back to being himself. He got out from under this dark energy. And when he learned of all the terrible things that he had done during this time that he was under this oppression, he went out into the woods and hung himself. Yeah. And there's no documentation of an actual exorcism or prayer sessions, but there is documentation that the Episcopalian bishop visited the area 4 times between 1889 and 1891. So sometimes people feel like there's some dark energy still lingering around. There's
the church, excuse me, Kate, is the church record still around, or they were taken by the Yeah,
So
that's it.
we are the third owners
Oh,
from when it disbanded. And
Oh,
there's not a lot. Like I said, a lot of this that I got from the Historical Society. There's some older women that work up there, volunteer, some neighbors, and just people that live in the area. There's not a lot of like written, like this is a tiny, tiny little town. Like it's very small. And we've been trying to buy, like there's an additional plot of land adjacent to the church, and we've been trying to buy it since we bought the church, and no one can tell us who owns it. No one's paying taxes. And there's the records go back to like 1940s, and that's as far back as they have records on things.
oh my God.
Yeah. So we've even been in contact with Indianapolis. So, but like if Greene County didn't send the information, Indianapolis wouldn't have it either. So
Right. So
yeah,
you have to like petition the land court. It's a big deal
yeah,
if there's no title.
yeah. So it's just a big mess. So
Uh-huh.
you know,
Oh, that
yeah.
sucks.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's
And
very
then,
involved.
yeah. And then I don't know if I can say this, but I'll
yeah, you can.
descriptive. In the 1920s, the people with the white hats and the hate
Mm.
group,
Mm.
they were very, very prominent in this area.
Oh,
There's documentation of them coming in. I mean, I've talked to people that said when they were kids, they remember them coming into the church and giving the ministers, envelopes full of money. Because they were, they bought off the politicians and the religious leaders. So to get people to do things that they wanted.
wow.
So it was very, very prominent in this area. And we do have documentation that there were several members of the church that belonged to that group, and they had meetings at the church.
Oh, wow.
So there's some, if you look at sundown towns in Indiana,
hmm
the neighboring town will come up even today. I mean, I don't think it really is, but it was known as a sundown town. And there are several big, large bells in the area that's rumored to have been used. They would ring the bells at dusk to let people know to go home. And there's rumors that the church bell was actually used for that.
Wow.
Yeah.
And
So
and I did notice, like in the picture you have, your profile picture, you have two like African American dolls on the piano,
yes.
um, kind of in homage to, that situation.
Well, one of those, the male doll, the female doll, a friend of mine found her at a like an old antique store or something. But the male doll, it's interesting because he was found, my husband went up into like the bell tower area where it leads into the attic, and
Mhm.
that's where and he was just laying there.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I don't
And
know.
you said there was a child's voice that said help, right?
I'm sorry.
You said there was a child's voice that you heard that said help.
A woman's voice.
Mm.
Wasn't there a
The
child
the
too? You
child
said,
voice called for mama.
oh, Mama. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Mm.
In the neighboring town, this gets pretty dark.
Mm.
It's
In
okay.
the neighboring, do you want, should I go?
Yeah, go.
Oh,
Okay.
sure.
Okay. In the
It's
neighboring
not
town,
like
it's
us.
about,
We're not governed by AAC or anything,
Yeah.
RTC or
okay, no. I mean, there's a lot of history with that group in the area, and really bad things that have happened around here because of that. People I know today that they said they remember them holding rallies and handed out flyers at the grocery store.
Oh,
Yeah. So it was really bad.
wow.
But then the neighboring town of Linton, which is about 10 miles away, it's like the next bigger town. There was an actual documented serial killer that lived there. He was a nurse, and he would kill people at the hospital he worked at.
Oh,
This was
Oh.
between 1993 and 1995, and it's believed he was only convicted, I believe, of 7 or 8 deaths, but he claimed that he killed over 100
oh
people.
my God.
And
Wow.
so then um so that's in Linton, but then there's also a suspected serial killer actually in Marco. And
Oh my
this is,
God.
this is documented. The man lives like 3 houses away from the church.
Oh.
This is documented. This is 100%. You can look it up if you want. And there were several women that went missing, and 2 were found murdered, and 2 have never been found. But between 1994 and 1996, this man, he was convicted in 1996 of killing his wife. He beat her to death and then dumped her body down a mine shaft.
Ugh.
Her body's never been recovered. And we didn't know this, and we hired this man because he has like a little backhoe type equipment thing.
Uh-huh.
Yep.
And there's all this concrete and stuff outside the church, and
Oh, wow.
we would see him down there like working on doing stuff. So I told my husband, I was like, well, just see if everybody's told us like, oh yeah, he's like a little handyman or whatever. So we hired him to chunk up all this concrete.
Uh-huh.
And he started telling us all this stuff, like all these crazy things, like being involved with that previously mentioned group and all this stuff. And I'm like, oh God, what did I do? And, so I'm thinking, I don't know a soul here. And then hear this, I've got this, made contact with this guy. But he starts talking about when he was in prison. And I was like,
oh Lord.
Yeah. So I said, well, why were you in prison? And he goes, oh, I killed my wife. Like it was nothing. So basically, yeah, I mean, like it was just like I ate a piece of cheese today. I mean, it was like it was yeah. And so I just kind of looked at him like, what? And he told us this outrageous story of how, it was an accident and he got scared. But for 4 years, he told people that she ran off with someone else or she left him. She was missing for 4 years, and they knew right away. They had suspected that it was him.
It's always the husband.
Yeah. And she was trying to leave him. And he was very controlling and abusive. And, just the story he told us just doesn't even, after I started looking at it and finding newspaper articles and things like that, it just doesn't make sense. Like, his version versus the official version. But then so he told everyone that she had ran off. And then after, they kept, it was, the case didn't go cold. They knew he was involved, and it took them 4 years, but then they finally got enough evidence that they were going to implicate some family members. And so he confessed and took a plea deal. And he was sentenced to 45 years, 15 years were suspended. He served 15, and then he's currently out on supervised probation, but he's actually back in jail now. He's been put in jail twice now.
Oh, thank you, Jesus.
Yeah.
Okay.
And he's very strange, but he told me himself. So the cemetery I'd mentioned earlier, it's like a half a mile away from the church. And he told me, then they tried to blame those old ladies on me. But this is all part of this. We just met the man, just hired him to chop this concrete, and he's all these crazy stories. And I'm like, what are you talking about? So I started looking into that and asking some people. Well, there was a lady, she was 79 years old, and her brother was buried up at the cemetery. And it was in October. And this is in 1996. So after he had killed his wife, or wait a minute, it was around the same time, because it was in 1996 that she was killed too. But she had went up to the cemetery to put a pumpkin on her brother's grave, and a neighbor noticed that her car had been parked there like all day. So they walked over, and the trunk was open, her purse was there, her keys were there. She's never been found. So the neighbor called, it's a small town. The neighbor called this woman's son, and the police and everything came. They left the cemetery and went to this man who killed his wife, his house, and questioned him.
Let's go right to his door.
Yeah. And he was the prime suspect. And then in 1994, prior to that, there was an older lady. Her body was found about 8 miles from the church. She lived about 18 miles from where her body was found. But what's funny is not funny at all, but and that was in 94. And then in 1996, there was another lady. She lived like within a mile of where the previous lady, where her body was found.
Oh,
She
wow.
lived about a mile from there, but her body was found within about 4 or 5 miles of where the first lady lived. So
Ew,
like there's like
creepy.
this area,
Yeah.
you know, so people believe that like this 25 to 30 mile radius was like his hunting ground.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And he told me himself that he was questioned in all of these murders.
Hmm.
So I was like, oh my gosh.
Get
So
out
this-
of my yard.
Yeah. So one day we don't engage with him, but we
Thank God.
are aware enough of him, you know, like so one day he saw my husband out and he asked my husband if he has a gun because he has to put his dog down.
Oh
Because,
gosh.
yeah, instead of taking it to a vet,
Oh Lord.
he's telling him this sad sack story about how his house has basements full of water and there's all this mold in his house and his dog has mold poisoning and he has to put his dog down. So he has like this, like I said, he's like this handyman person and his property looks like a junkyard.
Of course it does.
Yeah, it does. So my husband said, you know, why don't you take all this junk you've got sitting and fill in your basement, concrete over it, and that'll take care of your water problem. Because he said there's like 4 feet of water in his basement. I can't even imagine how awful that is.
Ugh.
And
Ew.
he said, and I swear I heard him say this himself. He said, oh no, I'm going to make a dungeon and put a woman down there. And I was far enough back but I didn't have to respond. But I looked at it. We went that week and got a pit bull and he's protection trained.
There you go.
And and he's the sweetest dog. But when he sees him, if he sees him out, he gets that protection stand.
Oh, I bet he does.
Yeah, he gets the hair raises on the back of his, and he gets that real low, dark, deep growl.
Well, Kate, I hate to tell you this, but we've actually run out of time, believe it or
Oh
not.
gosh, okay.
So before you go, if someone's interested in renting the Spirits of Marco, how can they do that?
It's spiritsofmarco@gmail.com. Or
Okay.
you can message on Facebook.
You have a Facebook page, Spirits of Marco, which follow. So yeah, I thank you so much. I mean, these stores, you could have gone on for more time.
There's a lot. Yeah. I mean, people wouldn't believe it. And we've only lived here like 2.5 years. Like,
Oh,
Bless you.
that's amazing. Oh
Yeah.
my Lord.
You got a book there, I'll tell you that much.
Yeah.
people have told me that, like, you should write a book. I'm like, maybe that'll be my next adventure. Let me get these houses in order and then we'll try to do that.
I
You're the perfect
agree.
person. Yeah, perfect. Start putting these down in the journal and then you'd have it. So anyways, Kate, we want to thank you so much for being on the show today. And it was very interesting. So I thank you for that.
Well, thank you for having me. It was fun. And I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to kind of get our name out there.
Yeah, well, if we ever get up that way, maybe we'll rent the place out.
Definitely. Yeah. Give me a shout if you guys are in the area.
Ooh, out to Indiana, Ron. Road trip.
I know it. All right, we got to go. So thank you once again. I want to thank everybody for listening today and we're brought to you by Circles of Wisdom, 386 Merrimack Street, Methuen, Massachusetts, the Glant Messier Family Law Group, 50 High Street, North Andover, Massachusetts. And I'm very good friends on Ghost Chronicles Radio on Patreon. Good night, everyone. God bless and stay safe.
Good night, everybody.
Hey.
From ghoulies to ghosties, long-leggedy beasties, and things that go bump in the night. Deliver us,